All right, and we're officially beginning. So this is Math 1108. It's finite math. Notice that there are several versions of finite math, so make sure you're in the right one. This is for business students. I assume everyone here is in business school. Yeah. Okay, good. So you're in the right place. There are several versions, so make sure you're here. If you're here, you're a business student. Okay. So typically, I think you will need this class, and after this you would need a Calc 1 class, which I believe is 1109, and you might also have to do a statistics class. At least that's the assumption I'm going by. So statistics is something that might be covered in finite math, but I'm not going to cover it because I'm under the assumption that you already have another class where you're going to do a lot of statistics. But for us, we're going to talk a little bit more about the class. We're going to talk about a few basic ideas. We're going to cover financial mathematics, right, interest rates, loans, debt, credit, all that stuff. We're also going to talk about linear systems, and we're going to look at these through the lens of matrices. We're also going to talk about things like it's under operations research, but I think what we want to call, specifically we're going to talk about linear programming. We're pretty much going to do the geometric method. We're not going to talk about simplex method or anything like that, even though it will be in your textbook. Another thing we're going to cover is sets and probability. And we're pretty much going to tie these four things together by talking about one specific application that ties them all together called Markov chains. And I'll mention some applications. So that's pretty much pretty much in general what we'll be covering in this class. I think it's a nice spread of topics. I'll talk about this a little bit, but in my mind there's two kind of ways that the course is going to go. There's the bare minimum that I want to cover, and if we have time I'll actually go into things a little more deeply. Unfortunately, we're not going to teach enough to connect everyone in a chain, but the financial math is going to be like an island just out there by itself. But it's actually important, and you can actually connect everything all in one. But these guys are going to line up very nicely. And by the time you end up with Markov chains, you're going to see some very cool applications that use all of these things. It's going to be really nice. So that's the overview of the class. Let's get to the specifics. My name is Jhevon. You can call me Jhevon, that's fine. And this is my email, so that's how you can contact me. Office hours are Wednesdays and Fridays during these times. Or by appointment, you can email me, you can set something up. My office is in the JMH building, so that's where the math department is, on the 4th floor, room 423. And that is the website. It's a very important website where I will be posting information for the class, but it's not up and running just yet, at least for this specific class. But by next week, that should be up and running, and I'll direct you guys there. And we will be using this textbook right here. You can get it at the math department if you want to actually borrow a copy and look it over. You'll probably be able to borrow one from the library as well. It'll be nice if you have it, but I'm not going to require that you buy it. This is an old edition, so if you do want to buy it, it should be pretty cheap. You can probably get it for like $30 right now. I think the 13th edition, or maybe the 14th is already out, but we're using the 12th. By the way, all these underlying things, these are actually hyperlinked. I'm going to link you to an electronic version of the syllabus where you'll be able to click on all this stuff. Be aware of your section. We are in section R17. That's when we meet, and that's the location right here, so that's good. Okay, so the websites are going to be very important. I'll be directing you to them once they're up and running. And this is pretty much the course description, kind of what I mentioned here. Calculators will be allowed in general, but specific types, the non-graphing type. Right? So as long as your calculator can do things like factorials, So if you can access something that looks like an exclamation sign, that's called a factorial. Make sure your calculator can do that. Does anyone know what this means? How do you explain what this means? Yeah?
Isn't it like if you have a number next to it, it's all the numbers before it multiplied?
Yeah, so for example, if you had 5 factorial, it's really 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 3. There's a generalized version of this function, but it's way beyond the scope of this class. But as we are going to use it, it's going to be used in this way. So writing that means this. So it doesn't just mean you're saying 5! You know, you're not excluding it means. You're just like, multiplying all of these. So your calculator should have that function, and you should be able to get away with that. It would be even nicer if the calculator has the function of a combination, which typical notation would be CNR or CNR or something similar to that, as well as permutations PNR or PNR. Going to be some similar notations. So your calculator should be able to do these, but it shouldn't be so sophisticated that you can program the entire math book in the calculator. So yeah, so calculators are allowed, and it will be necessary for the most part. Although, if you bring things to right up to the line before you actually need the calculator to compute the final answer, you should get most of the credit, if not all of it. Okay, so that's your typical grading chart, and here's how your grades will be assigned in this class. So homework, I will be doing this online with the WebWork system. It is free for you to access. It again is not set up because I need to make sure that the roster is loaded, that everyone who is here should be here, etc. So that should also be up and running early next week. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Participation, so you get 5% for participating, which basically means attendance. But I'll notice if you participate further, and it will actually be good for you guys to talk to me. I'm often going to prompt you guys for some responses. Don't be shy, it's very important that you speak up. We'll get to that soon as well. Test, we will be having 2 tests. I'll tell you the dates a little bit later. And in total, that's 40%, so each test will be worth 20% of your grade. I'm also going to give you a project to do. It will be a group project. I will choose the groups, and I will let you know what your groups are shortly after test 1. The project is mostly going to be based on financial math, but you might be able to use these as well. And you will be using something like Excel with this, because you'll be handling a lot of data. So that's going to be 10% of your grade, and then we'll have a final exam, which is worth 35% of your grade. The final exam is cumulative. Each individual test is not cumulative though. So I'll give you 2 individual tests that cover different topics. The final exam will be almost like a combination of these 2 exams. Okay, moving on to the next page. So makeups, no makeups or homeworks. I think I'll drop the lowest 2 homework grades, so if you miss 2, you'll be fine. But if you miss an exam for a very good reason, we can make that up if you have a really good excuse. Attendance, like I said, I'll be taking attendance every class. You actually get credit for it, so you just show up and you get 5%, that'll be good. If you are to be excused, you need to let me know the reason within 1 day of your absence or lateness, and of course proof is required where applicable. Contact, I will be contacting you, so make sure you see emails from me. I'll be contacting you at your Fordham email address. You will either get emails from me from my email address mentioned here, or from another thing called Jupiter Grades. So add this to your whitelist if it shows up. So Jupiter Grades is an online system, and that's where I'll be keeping track of your grades. I don't like using Blackboard, so I'll keep track of your grades via this thing, and I'll send you a link where you can actually access your report card, and you'll be able to see how you're doing in the class in real time. So you know what grade I have for you currently. And I'll send out emails about that as well. So make sure you're seeing emails from me as well as from Jupiter Grades. Next section, feedback. Highly encourage feedback. I am here to teach you. I want to make sure you guys are learning and the class is actually giving you the kinds of things that you will need. So do not be afraid to give me feedback about how things are going and what you might need to get more out of the class. So just make it constructive, that's all I ask. So don't just be like, your teaching sucks! Be like, your teaching sucks because. Probably should do this, probably should do that, maybe it's a good idea to do this. So that's always good, and you will never be downgraded for criticizing me, it's fine. We can have a discussion, and we're all here to get better. Okay, so homeworks, quizzes, tests. We do not have quizzes, the homework is going to be online. These are the instructions to access the homework. Again, when all these websites are set up, I will again email this link to you and it will be clickable and you can just use these instructions. So once I make sure that everyone is verified, attendance is verified and the roster is loaded, I'll let you guys know about that. So that should also be up and running next week, but that's how you'll access it. Right? So like I said, it's free, you just go to this website and you're gonna log in with the credentials that I pointed the instructions right here. Tests will be given in class during the regular class period, and it will require that you show all your work, so we're not going to be doing multiple choice or anything like that. So you're going to show all your work. I will be giving you partial credit based on the steps that you write down. And in general, how I write out problems on the board would be how I expect you to write them out, in case you're wondering what you need to write out to get full credit. Pretty much do as I do. Like I said, final exam will be cumulative. It will be given during finals week. I'll talk more about the dates to follow. An important section, help. If you are in the situation where you do need help in this class, and the sooner you find out that you need help, the better. So pay attention to how you're doing. Once I send you the report cards, pay attention to how things are going and what you're getting from what you're not. As I mentioned here, I believe I mentioned it. In general, I'm going to grade on a curve and I'll incentivize improvement. So let's say you really bombed test 1, but over time you show that you've improved, and on the final, all the things that were on test 1, you actually get them correct. I'm kind of going to think, weight test 1 less, you know what I mean? So the grade is good for you to know where your weak points are, but don't just like, if you have a failing grade, don't like, I don't know, get depressed or anything. Just think of that as, okay, I need to work on this and work on it. So if you find out that you would need help or your grades aren't what you would like them to be, several places you can get help. First, there's me. You have my office hours and my email, so you can actually get in contact with me and we can talk about stuff. Tutoring is available in JMH 410. That's the math help room. It's actually close to the math department. And I am not sure when that begins. It'll probably be also next week or the week after. Because usually they like a faculty member to always be present during operating hours, and so they have to get all the professors to give their availability. Usually it takes a week or two to get up and running, but when that's up and running, you will be able to get a lot of help there. A lot of online help here. Told you a bunch of websites that are going to be very useful, and we can probably talk about those a little bit more soon. MyHelpForum.com to get personal help. Wolfram Alpha and Symbol Lab is where you can type stuff in and actually get the answers to them. Wolfram Alpha is nice, but Symbol Lab allows you to use templates and you can actually get symbols easier. If you need to graph anything, these two links are pretty good. And just in general, a Google search or a YouTube search can do wonders, so just be aware of that. Another useful resource is your classmates. So you should get the contact information of a couple of people in the class, just in case you want to form a study group, or I don't know, if you missed something you want to catch up. As well as pretty soon I'll be putting you guys into groups anyway, but you should kind of get to know someone anyway else. Next thing, okay, so if you believe you are entitled to accommodations because you have some sort of disability that might affect your academic work, you should see the Office of Disability, and you should see them within the first week of class, because in order for you to get accommodations, everything has to be set up. They have to email me, and permissions and forms have to be filled out and stuff like that. So get that done as soon as possible. Typical class rules, no eating, no cell phone use, and the academic integrity statement, don't cheat. Okay. That's good. By the way, I'm kind of breezing through things here. You really should go back and read the syllabus slowly, eventually. Okay. What else? Some important dates. I just took out selected dates from the academic calendar. You can see the full academic calendar here. You should be aware of what's going on. Some things that might be of interest are the days when Fordham decides they don't like what day it is and they want to change. So, for example, on September 4th, that Wednesday, the college will follow a Monday schedule, etc. It tells you when the college is closed, as well as the last day to withdraw from a class, when Thanksgiving is, etc., when your final exams are, etc. If you look over here, this is a more specific layout of what we will be covering. As I mentioned here, I just fleshed out some of the actual topics that we will be covering. From our textbook, we're going to be doing, at minimum, topics from chapters 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9. And you will notice here is where exam 1 will show up. Here's where exam 2 will show up. The dates are pretty much fixed, so it's definitely going to be on that date. It doesn't matter what I've covered up to that date, I will give you an exam on this date. So you are R17, so your first exam is October 16th. So I'm sure you know about that. So, on the second exam that should not be October 16th. That should be December 5th. So the last day of class is December 6th. It'll be like our last class before that day.
When's exam 2?
I'm going to give you the date right now. I think I copied something wrong in that Word document. So it'll be the 4th.
No.
All right, that is.
We don't have classes on Thursdays.
It's the 4th of Thursday?
Oh, you said
The 4th
December
is a
5th.
Wednesday.
Oh, it's the 4th?
December 4th.
Okay.
So the last day of classes is the 6th. Before I give you the exam the Wednesday before that. The 6th is a Friday.
Okay.
And for the other section, we'll get it on the 6th.
Yeah.
It's the second exam. The final.
The first one is October 16th.
Yes, so there are 2 exams and the final. So exam 1, again, is on October 16th, that's correct. Exam 2 is on December 4th. So for section R17, scratch that out and write in December 4th. And that'll just cover everything that exam 1 didn't cover. Like I said, you might do additional topics if time permits. And your final exam, we actually know the date of that, so make sure that you don't make travel plans for that date. For this class, it will be Friday, December 13th. Friday the 13th at 9:30 a.m. Okay? So the final is going to be about 2 hours long. So make sure you make time for that. December 13th.
What's in here?
It'll be in your regular classroom. It's usually in the regular classroom. So all exams are in this class. Make sure you don't make travel plans. And in October, November, they might update the final exam schedule. So I also put a link here where you can actually find the general exam schedule. And it is a web link, so anywhere that it looks like there's a space, there's actually an underscore. Just be aware of that, because you can't have spaces in a web link. And that's that. This is one of my smaller syllabi because there's not much prerequisite stuff that I can force you to know. But the last page is a questionnaire. I'd like you to fill it out, and once you're done, just attach it, and I'll have you hand it in after class.
Is there a midterm?
Yeah, there are two. Well,
Oh, they sound.
yeah, so exam 1 is like your midterm. It is during midterm week.
Oh, okay.
So that week is when we're having all midterms. So think of exam 1 as your midterm.
I don't know the answer.
I want to make sure I get it. You want to attend these.
Top is the highest. I don't believe staff is the highest. I don't know. No, it's what kind of impact counts. Just you don't calculate this account. It might be
Yeah.
calculated.
We'll take it after class.
So, are there any questions while you guys are filling that up?
We're undecided which should I put it for the highest level. Should I just pick one on the questionnaire?
Oh, you can write I don't know. But it's very important that if you write I don't know, you should find out soon, right? You should have a plan for where you're going. So I'm pretty sure for business majors, it'll be this class, then a Calc 1, then a statistics. The Calc 1 would probably be the highest required level, 1109. But again, depending on your specific major, that might change. So you really should be talking to your advisor the whole time. That'll be a good idea. Make sure you're getting. As well as if you want a double major or something like that, again, that might affect the math classes that you have to take. Any other questions, concerns?
Is there like one like specific calculator that you recommend? Or just go through?
No, just as long as it's non-graphing, just make sure it can do the factorials and permutations of company.
For the online homework, does it like grade it right when you submit it, or do we wait?
Yeah.
For it?
Yeah, and it'll be set up so that you have like unlimited attempts.
Okay.
So just work through it until you get it, and it'll be graded right away. You'll be able to see your grade, and I'll be able to see your grade.
When should we have the calculator in book by?
ASAP. So we're pretty much going to start using calculators next class. Alright, so the first thing we're going to dive into is interest. We're going to talk about simple interest, compound interest, that kind of stuff, and we're going to use calculators to calculate them. So as soon as possible.
Would you round up like a 93.5 to 94? Something like that?
Yeah, in general, I kind of give an error by 2% maybe. So if someone is off by 2%, I usually assign.
If we don't receive our new calculator by this next class, can we use a graphing calculator in the meantime?
In the meantime, yeah, but
Yeah.
for sure on an exam, you're gonna need. So make sure if you want to know how long you actually have, the date of the first exam is when you need to have the right kind of.
Do we need laptops on a daily basis for class? Or
No, you won't need it at all.
Okay.
It's going to be pure lecture based, and we're going to use our calculators. That's pretty much it.
Do you mind if we take notes from laptop?
It's better to take notes by hand, but if you prefer a laptop, it's fine.
I have the 13th edition of the book online. Do I need the 12th, or is it similar enough?
I don't know because I don't have a copy of the 13th. I would assume the concepts, the topics are all the same, but how the exercises are numbered might change. So if I refer you to specific exercises in the 12th edition for practice, it might be different than yours, but
So I should
I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think you actually need to get it. If you can just come and see me, and I can tell you, oh, that's not going to be a problem.
So the letter grade, A and A minus, are they gonna show up like different GPA there?
Yeah, A and A minus gives you a different GPA, and we don't have an A plus here. So A is the highest.
If we're late to class, does it count as an excused absence?
No, you kind of get like a half credit. So I'll grade attendance on a 2-point system. If you're late, you get 1 point. If you're early, you get 2 points. If you're absent, you get 0. And if you're excused, I'll just not make it count at all. Other questions?
What is whitelist?
Oh, it's like sometimes when your email sends things into spam and you tell it, no, this is okay, it's called whitelisting. I'll block the email.
Oh,
For you to tell your spam checker, this email address is okay. Other questions?
How will the homework work? Will you tell us when stuff to do, or is it just on everything on the website?
Yeah, you just check it. In general, once I cover a topic in class, the homework for that topic is going to be due in 1 or 2 days.
Okay.
And so as soon as we complete the topic, the homework is going to be up. So once you log in, you'll see a list of all the assignments and you'll see the due dates.
and you said it grades it as soon as you send it in. So can you resubmit it afterwards if you'd like?
Effectively, yeah. You have unlimited attempts.
Right. Okay.
So you can do it as often as you want before the due date.
Okay.
So once the due date is there, you won't be able to change anything.
Yeah.
But prior to that, you can
As many as we want.
as many attempts as you want. So you can get 100 on homework, no problem. It'll just keep updating the score until you get everything there.
Do you see like the individual grade of each attempt?
No, I would only see the highest score at the end of the day.
Is that locked?
I believe I can see how many times you attempted it, but I don't see the score only for the highest one. Yeah. Or I should say the latest one. The last thing you entered, that's the score it's going to be. Yeah? Did you have a question? Yeah.
No.
I thought you did.
How long usually are the hours?
It'll vary depending on the topic. So if we're talking about simple interest and compound interest, I probably won't ask you many problems on those because those are relatively simple. Whereas later on down the road when we're doing Markov chains or linear programming, I might give you more.
no, you don't. That's fine.
It goes by how complicated the thing is, so there's no set.
Until you did it correct.
Other questions?
Like, let's say you like second guess yourself and you want to change your answer, you can do that. They're not gonna like give you like a new score every time.
Yeah.
What's the difference between accumulated test and non-accumulated?
Oh, cumulative means that everything is covered. Non-cumulative means there's no overlap. Right, so exam 1 is not cumulative, so it will only cover the things that come before. Exam 2 does not cover what came before. Exam 1 will only cover what's after. So it's just a way to say overlap. So exam 1 and 2 won't overlap unless it's incidental, you know. So the final will cover it. Other questions? So in other words, if you mess up on exam 1, you won't have the opportunity to redeem yourself until the final, right? Because I'm not going to test on the same thing on exam 2.
Will you like let us know when like the tutoring starts, like in case we need it, and like what hours?
Sure, as soon as I know, I will let you guys know. Yeah, so when the websites are up, I will let you know, and when the tutoring center is up and running, I will let you know. So they haven't even asked me for my schedule yet, so.
Oh, okay.
So usually they send around this document that everyone has to sign up what their hours are, and then they'll say, okay, we can man this many hours. So the tutoring center is usually going to be open from, I believe it starts like at 9:30 a.m. to like 4:30 p.m. But they want to make sure that there's always a faculty member at each hour.
Oh.
So they have to get all our schedules and compile that and then before they can set up.
When are you going to post the YouTube the video?
I'll usually post it within a day or two. So I'm teaching several classes and I'm recording all the classes, so it might take a while for me to compress everything and upload it. But I'll pretty much start working on it right away, so a day or two, the videos should be up.
And that's on your website?
Yes. So once everything is actually set up, the main website on the front of the document, jhevon.org/teaching. When you go there, you'll see your course and click on that and all the material will be there. I'm going to be posting a lot of stuff there. So you'll see an electronic copy of the syllabus, you'll see a link to the YouTube videos, you'll see blanks for the tests and solutions. I will also post practice and reviews for tests there. Any documents or handouts that would be there, announcements would be there. A lot of stuff is going to be on the website once it's up and running. No questions? Do you have a question?
No.
Okay, so if that's it, we're just going to end it. I'm not really going to do anything today. So just make sure, you can pass up the questionnaires to the person in front of you until it gets thrown. I'll collect it. And I will see you on Friday, and we will jump into first class.
Yeah.
Wait,
I had you on the I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I have questions.
All right, you have my email. If you have any questions before the next class, you can email me.